Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today's guest is Dana Lawson. Dana is the CTO of Netlify, one of the most popular platforms for building and deploying web applications. Dana was previously at New Relic, InVision, and was VP of Engineering at GitHub. Truly a distinguished and experienced engineering leader. Dana, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you. Before we start, a very quick reminder, you can post questions in the Q&A section if you're watching this through our website, or comments if you're watching on YouTube, X, or LinkedIn. We have people kind of grabbing all these questions so we can ask Dana at the end of the session. You can also watch this recording available as a podcast on Spotify and Apple Music very soon, like end of this week, tomorrow, likely. So let's get started. Let's first spend some time getting to know Dana. Dana, you went to school wanting to be an artist, and from my reading, you ended up in the U.S. Army supporting SAS before most people knew what SAS was, which is not the most obvious or typical career path. At what point did it start clicking that you were meant to handle engineering organizations?
Man, it still isn't clicking. I don't know. Every day I wake up and I'm like, how is this my life? How did I get here? I'm going to tell you, I have no idea. But in all seriousness, I think a lot of us have always been curious builders, many of us really nerdy into math and science. And I think that traverses a lot of the primitives we have as humans. And for me, I never expected to be on this journey. A lot of my peers will tell you, like, I've been programming since I came out of the womb. I absolutely have not been programming since I came out of the womb. Maybe now, because I've been doing this so long, it feels that way. But no, man, it was a really interesting traverse to get here. Like, I think a lot of people are starting to enter our field into. They're coming through non-traditional paths as well. And so I'm one of those stories.
It's pretty cool. And so one of the things that I really agree with is that you say that leadership is an innate attribute, so that everyone can be a leader. It's just how much you want to unlock it, which is a great read for people growing into their careers. Some people would say, obviously, that people promote other people into leadership with zero training and just hope for the best. So did anyone actually teach you to lead? Did you figure out by surviving?
Honestly, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both because I feel, maybe it's some of the brainwashing of the U.S. Army. I don't know. I wasn't that serious of a soldier. But, the one thing that you learn is, like, you're capable beyond the means of what you think you can and cannot do. And so, honestly, we're all from the same stardust in a lot of aspects. And that doesn't mean that we don't have different opportunities, privileges than others. But I think a lot of it comes down to drive and grit when it comes to manifesting some of those things that you want. And because we have this natural capability at some degree, if we choose to unlock it and have, fostering to do so, you still have to nurture, you still have to grow, you still need to shape, you still have to have humility. And definitely, I've got a mouth on me. I've had tons of leaders graciously give me their time and space to make me better at doing this job and being with people and trying to unlock things that we thought were unachievable as a group of humans. And so I do believe that, as cheesy as it is, we all have this opportunity, but it takes a whole bunch of people around you to make you really good at what you do, because you have to learn and listen from them. And so I think that it's like with any craft, you have to practice. And so, you got to put the work in, but also you have to have the drive and desire already. If you try to just force it in, and, like, for some people, they're like, heck no. Like, I
It will
respect that. I'm
sound
like,
forced. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. And so those folks that you're mentioning, obviously, you passed from GitHub and other organizations. Obviously, Microsoft being a very different animal than Netlify, I would bet. Is there specific things you learned from them? about engineering leadership at GitHub Skill, for example, that have to completely unlearn or just do different now at Netlify?
Oh man, I've said this on other conversations I've had. GitHub was the hardest job I've ever had. Oh man, I've been in tech since the 90s. And like that, it should be the hardest job I ever had. It's freaking GitHub. Like, if you've been a developer for a minute or you're a new developer, you've heard of a thing called Git, and then you start learning about what GitHub is, etc. So like there was a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on us. And I came in right after the acquisition had just closed. And it was this mission to really retain what made GitHub special with the way we execute, the way that we function, really a global random group of people running like a startup, even though the company was almost like 10 years old at the time, but it still had that very much startup essence, but at scale. And it was a lot of like doing new things again, but applying like experience behind it. And so you had to have this open mindedness going into this organization of like, cool, like I know how to run a startup. Okay, let's startup with 1,000, 2,000 people. Yeah, still a startup, but it's a lot of people. And now you're under this well-known, company that's been around longer than most of your employees have been on this planet. And you're just like, all right, do we assimilate or do we be us? And so during my time there, it was really about being the new version of yourself, and like, because there's no going back to how you were in any acquisitions like this. And there's no really becoming truly, I guess it depends on the size, maybe if you're a tiny acquisition, of truly becoming like the other. And so you have to forge this new identity and do that while you're at scale with new relationships, new business structures. It was, it was, it was it was intense, man. I don't know.
Intense.
We reorged like a million times in those 3 years. And the things I learned were like, you know, you got to have some levity. Like, it's not that serious. You are going to reorg 1,000 times. Maybe you won't. I don't do that, people, if you're watching this. But also you got to be open-minded and curious. You're going to fail. You're going to have lots of failures because you're in a new uncharted space, even though you know the cast of characters, and you got to make it work in that new space. And so it was really challenging. And I think really the lessons I learned from that are like the foundational ones, because if you would have even asked me how I think about R&D and engineering organizations 12, 18 months ago, it's different from today. It is. And like, 6 months ago, or maybe even a year ago, which, and now AI years,
Yeah,
that's
as
like a
well. Yeah.
million, because it feels like centuries. Come
Enter.
on
Yeah.
now. Um, we're doing things different, and we're breaking the patterns
Yeah.
of how we led before. Definitely.
Hmm. Hmm. And so, actually, touching on that, um, how do you stay sane in the world of Ralph loops and molt bots and open clause and all these new things that pop up
Oh,
every minute or every second?
oh man, who had lobsters were going to be so hot on their bingo card? I don't know, man. I was still like, are cats still in, or is that so 2010s? It's the year of the lobster, people. How do I stay sane? I mean, fortunately, I'm not, so that helps. Um, I really just try to practice some stoicism when it comes to it. Like people think that stoicism is like in like super serious. I'm like, no, it's about like just knowing what you can influence and what you can't, and living your life, people. And so for me, I take it like education, but also like humor, because it's so changing. It's so rapid. There's a lot of silliness, which I'm glad there is, but you gotta just be able to filter out the noise. And right now, it's hard because there's a million new acronyms, new tools, new libraries, new frameworks.
Stimulus,
And
right? It just doesn't
oh
stop.
man, it never stops. And it's like, we have doom scrolling, but now we have like, I don't know what you call it, discovery scrolling, because you're like, to stay up on the news, man. Like, it's like Boltbot, Clawbot, what bot is it this week? What's the hotness? And I'm like, listen, you're still going to be relevant. You don't need to know all the bots, all the clods, all the, I don't know, whatever we're going to come up with, all the funny stuff we're going to come up with next. Continue to like seek out the stuff that's really retaining, sticking, listen to the smart people, ask your circles, and take care of yourself, like disassociate sometimes, go for a run, man. Like, life's too short.
Disconnect. Yeah.
Disconnect. You got to think about you holistically. And it's hard sometimes when stuff is like so accessible.
Yeah. So let's talk about agent experience. So that is the idea that AI agents are becoming first-class users of platforms and not just tools developers use. Walk me through what that actually means architecturally. Changes about APIs, runtime, observability. What does that mean?
I mean, we were just making jokes about it a minute ago. An agent social network where it's no real people, just synthetic little agents run around doing their damn own thing. It's here, y'all. All right. So when we think about developer experience that came out around 2010, it was this overlay of how developers utilize tools to create and build, right? And we have been obsessing about the user experience because you always want to build meaningful, intuitive software for whoever is going to utilize that. And the whoever is now turned into a lobster. Okay, right? It's man. I won't even give it to an animal lobster, but it's a bot and it's synthetic, and it's not only going to be doing the building, it's also going to be experiencing the output of that. And so when we think about how we modify these systems, it's it is modification because a lot of us don't have the ability to just write from scratch. And so it's not only changing the existing current endpoints to communicate with maybe traditional APIs, now it's anticipating that the other end of this may not be a human developer. It may not be an API that was written by a human developer that has different constraints because of the way it's consumed. There's now a non-deterministic agent that maybe have a little bit of boundaries. So when we think of agent experience, it's really the UI for that agent that we're now thinking about. How does it need tools and utilities to perform the functions that we are setting forth in the context to do? And the reality is agents can do stuff at scale. And so that's some of the powerfulness of this, is like where you could do something, like you would be like, cool, I'm going to come in here and put errors, and we're going to make sure that we do errors. And then the errors are going to manifest and be called from an API, or maybe in an old agent, a monitoring agent, and a human's going to get an alert on a dashboard. And now we have that nirvana of the Google SRE, like self-healing. Now we actually can do self-healing, which is incredible, but it was still a human in the loop. And you're creating that error from that API and that endpoint to notify somebody to tell something that's happening. And really good error, yeah, you may have some sweet scripts that go and do something for you. But now let's think about this example through the lens of an agent. Agent's going to get an error. It's going to say, cool, I see what's going on here. Here's the go. Maybe it's probably code. Maybe it's not. Probably is. It's going to go and figure it out. It's going to write the code. It's going to, if you have enough permissions right, it's going to push PR. It's going to fix itself. And then the error rate's going to go away, and you may never know about it. And that's like what you want. Now that experience on how you think about that error and the error handling is now totally different. A workflow that goes to an endpoint and a dashboard, no way, man. A workflow that goes to an agent has the ability to do a pull request, fix the code, merge it because you have guardrails in place. That's agent experience. You're still just catching errors. And I don't know, maybe one day the AI won't write errors, but man, it really sucks right now in a lot of ways. Or maybe it's me the vibe coder, but it's still pretty error prone.
It is. And you just described obviously a whole flow where agents can take over and do all these seamless actions for us where they reply or just take over from actions that they completed before. And so this is obviously we're seeing this take over with the SDLC as an example. Less and less friction, right? So more and more seamless flow. Are there parts of our software development lifecycle that we want to retain friction on? Is friction a good thing in some of these in some developments, and where should it be?
Man, I feel like we're still so new in all of this. It would be it'd be almost foolish to just unleash everything without any checkpoints. Or maybe, you know, in the future, it's going to be foolish to be like, there has to be a human in the loop. Hello, silly human. I don't know, but we ain't there yet. All right. Um, and I think until we feel confidence and we really have understanding of really the limitations of what we're introducing into our code bases, um, you should still have double clicks in on stuff like security. Like, yeah, I think you should have some friction there. I think you should have automation, you know, scanning thousands and thousands of lines of code for vulnerabilities. I'm sorry, agent gonna do it better than us, you know, than me sitting on the other end, or even writing a test case to go and do that with something old school. Um, but I think there still has to be some oversight into it in that area. And in the world of privacy, data, and governance, it's like, are you sure? You sure? And that may be applying even more AI into those workflows and into that CI/CD path, but it's being intentional about it, and ensuring that you're checking the checks. You know, you hear about a lot of agents that you're kicking off these agent runs where it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to have Claude check Claude 9 times, which is really cool. But maybe you shouldn't trust Claude to check Claude self. Maybe you need Claude and Codex to hang out, like have you check each other. And so again, I think applying that mindset that we've always had on like being skeptics, but still with the lens of automation. And you know, that's where DevOps came from. And this is in a lot of ways an extension of DevOps, but it's, I don't know, somebody's probably calling it agent ops out there already, but it is still is what it is. And yeah, you know, eventually these agents and these LLMs will be smart enough that they're not error prone. They just know, like, the internet builds itself. We're not there yet. And I don't know. It sounds like if we talk really mean to some of these LLMs, they do wacky stuff. And so who knows how we'll influence these, you know, unhinged minds where they want to introduce evil and really take us humans out. So let's make sure that we put some checks and balances. But in all seriousness, there's still a lot of work to be done. I think in the areas we've always cared about, security, compliance, data governance, yes, we should continue to be skeptics there.
Have some good friction. One thing that I read was obviously was that you said that agents have unlocked developer to be truly full stack, right? Um, some of the engineers that I've been talking to in this podcast have been saying the opposite, which is now you have at your disposal the most generalists of tools that kind of just increases the foundation of value or tools or skills of everyone, and so it makes us all a generalist. So you think the whole concept, specifically for developers of backend and front end teams, is becoming obsolete?
Um, you know, it's I don't think it's ever going to be obsolete because again, until we get to the state of maturity, and I don't have the timeline on it, you know, we're still in the process, all of us that are in this field developing that. But I do believe that expertise, I think I here's the deal, right? Like I'm a terrible front end developer because like, you know what? I think CSS is the devil. I'm not going to spend my time doing that. Okay. And thank goodness I don't have to ever again. Just don't have patience for it. Like, I don't know, JavaScript, TypeScript is fine, whatever. But in all seriousness, like we all have these great ideas. You know, the computer science, hopefully, background of the OSI model in the foundational way that the internet works, which is pretty freaking cool still. And so you can make these trade-offs on performance, scalability, and like how it performs out in the wild on computers, which some people have really just great ideas that manifest these wonderful, beautiful experiences. And like I've always found in my history of being an engineer and being an engineering leader, people go into their little corners, what they're really good at, what they nerd out at. Like, man, like database people, like try to get them to go and do some JavaScript. They'll do it begrudgingly, but they want to be database people. That's what they're into. But now what I feel like this unlock is like they can go begrudgingly do that JavaScript and they can probably do it pretty darn well because they've been around long enough to know how full stack works, to see the back end, to push it and pull it together. The same can be said for front end engineers. You know, give people a little bit more exposure, but with some guardrails. And I think that A lot of the times when you think about the traditional split of front end and back end engineers, and some organizations just like, we're the front end team, we're the back end team, and it isn't super efficient. And it's like, great, if you have a really composable architecture where you can separate the areas of concern, sweet, but there's always some interconnection there. And what I believe agents have done is allow those teams to really put quality into what they already are great at, because now they can connect the dots. And that's what I think the difference is. Maybe a world there'll be generalists because it gets so easy that, shoot, maybe you don't need to nerd out on the databases. Maybe you don't need to think about caching every morning, but that world isn't here yet. And I think there's still a lot of opportunity. We're still going to have to continue to innovate on where and how we serve these experiences in the different channels that humans are developing. Like, right now we still have computers, laptops, and these digital experiences, but we don't know what's next, And I think that there's going to be different and more advancements in some of those spaces. And again, coming and saying everybody's a generalist, no way. Half of us won't ever be able to build that. Maybe we'll utilize an AI tool set to do that. But I think in software engineering as it is today, it's just going to make you better at your craft and also make you more efficient. But maybe we'll generalize some areas, but I think at scale in a lot of companies and as problems become complex, you want to leverage that expertise that have seen it before. And again, I haven't been in an environment yet, maybe I will in the future, where you don't have that, but I'm not seeing it, y'all. I'm not. I'm just seeing like deep nerds in their respective areas actually just get better and faster at their respected areas. And that was the intent with DevOps. Again, it was like, let me enable you. I just feel like it's no different.
Do you see a need for less people producing software?
I think you need not less. I mean, this is a tough one to describe. It, I guess it depends on like the goals and the goals of any Silicon Valley startup should be like produce more, go faster, first in market, like totally.
Do a
But the
video? Yeah.
right, the human in me is like, didn't we create these tools so that we could spend more time being humans? And like, how
Yeah.
much do we need to produce? Like, where's that upper limit of like we've all had enough? Like we're already in context overload. I don't know, man. Like, oh, I'm probably saying some sense here. But in all seriousness, I think that it depends on your mission, the problem, where you're at in that life cycle. It is intended to, help humans, I think at the end of the day, work smarter. Um, and honestly, that's really the key is like if you have everybody enabled, then you actually can just have more people do more things versus less people do the same volume. But there's a lot of big corporations that just look at like the end product and people don't matter. And so like,
Numbers,
you
yeah.
know, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. And like
Mhm.
I don't know, I'm not gonna work somewhere like that anymore. No. But
Love it.
but in all seriousness, I think that we're wrestling with that. Like, what's the output and what should be the expectation? Are we asking people to grind 120 hours to produce 300? Or are we asking people to work with some health and humanity behind it? And
Mhm.
y'all choose your own boundary. I'm a high performer, so mine's up there now. But like honestly, it's like being able to be the best version of themselves again, like and being able to produce without friction what they intended to and what they intend to do next. Like it's really about just unleashing people and giving, hopefully, you some control of your output because you don't have roadblocks. That's my intent and my hope, but we'll see. We'll see what the industry demands.
Um, Another thing I read is that um, you argued that the next generation of technologists must focus on as much on soft skills as on code, because obviously agents take apart a fraction, increasingly so. We don't know how much you will in the future. What is like a concrete version? Like what soft skill specifically or skills specifically would you hire over raw coding ability today?
Honestly, somebody that's really strong with natural language, somebody that's a high communicator, the written language. I mean, you got to think about how we're going into these systems. We're talking. And guess what? Every time you can't talk and make a point, you're costing me credits and tokens on those prompts. I really want somebody that has critical thinking skills, that can be concise, get the point out, and have clear communication, right? And you're talking to agents, and again, like, I'm making jokes, but like, waste a lot of tokens not getting your point out. You're going to be going, nope, that's not what I meant. So it's really important, I think, for all of us to continue to talk to humans, right? Because we're non-deterministic. We're unyielding. Like, when you have a conversation, me and you right now, you don't know what's going to come out my mouth. I don't even know what's going to come out my mouth, which worries me. And that's amazing. That is amazing. But being an effective communicator is going to allow you to be able to wrangle this technology and be proficient and efficient. Because if you can't be, it costs money, and nobody wants
It
you
does.
wasting any darn money, especially when you're trying to show the value of you and what you do and what you produce. You have to be conscious. But also, again, when we are in those situations that we're kind of describing, where you are doing more things within your role because you have the capabilities and you are enabled to, guess what? You're probably going to have to go talk to the other people about what you're doing. And in past, you may be a developer on a team with 5, 6 people, where you come in the morning and you're like, sweet, I'm going to go in my linear and my GitHub issues and I'm going to crank it out. Done. Not have to really talk to anybody, because some people work that way. That's cool. But now, when you're the one that's creating the project plan, defining the issues, and then going and showing it off, and I love culture's demonstration. It helps everybody like explain what you're doing. But now you're like the one and only to do that in a lot of ways. And this dependency on management presenting ideas, it's over. Like, you never wanted them to steal your thunder anyway. It's like you're the one doing all the hard work. So I really think it's important for us to continue to partner with our technologists and the people around us on how to story tell, how to be concise, as I am not being concise, how to be deliberate, and how to think end to end on what they produce. And some of those soft skills are going to be our written communication, um, you know explaining to other people on the team. There's some really great books out there on how to communicate with humans globally. I think those can be applied now to different systems, especially when you're sitting there writing prompts in natural language. And we hear in the world of technology how a lot of these code bases are changing now just to be written in natural language. So it's getting pretty wild out there, this abstraction of like how we're going to go into like a big old Ruby backend and be like, yeah, tell me why. And it's going to just give a little conversation of the whys, instead of like, oh yeah, here's the output of this particular whatever you're doing thing. And so it's really changing. And I think if you can't utilize and harness natural language now, you're going to have a problem. You're going to
So
have a problem.
it's possible that the best product owners, whatever we call it in the future, will be English majors and journalists and people that communicate for a living or really good at communicating.
I think that they're going to be really good at it. But again, like, those creative types, the verbosity's high. So I don't know, maybe
We
they
spend
need
a
some
lot of
more,
tokens also.
maybe we need a lot of 0, 1 thinkers that can get it out in a very, very calculated way, because like that's the best, right? When you can be really specific, because AI is you're really just given a set of instructions, concise instructions.
What's not getting enough love? What do you think today in terms of web infrastructure, developer tooling? What do you think is criminally underappreciated? Something that people should be paying attention, more attention to, but they're not. Maybe they're busy with lobsters and stuff.
Honestly, everybody seems to be moving so fast, because it's like, oh my gosh, you're going to future proof my stack. I'm talking about agent experience. I'm talking about like agents taking over all these things. And you're like, continue to stay relevant. How do I continue to move forward? And hopefully we've anticipated some of that, but I feel like there's still so much. Maybe this is like, I don't know, being a leader at scale. It's like testing. Like, come on now. Like, can we just solve software testing, like flaky tests? Like, I mean, I've been talking about flaky tests like a million years, and you would think all this AI would fix all those gosh darn flaky tests. And I've done talks on flaky tests and how AI can fix it, and yet there's still flaky tests, because it's like an area where you're like, I don't got time to really go
I don't have
look.
time for this. Yeah.
I just don't have time. It's like when you sit down in the morning, you're like, okay, today I'm going to work on this. 9 times out of 10, it can be flaky tests. That's like at the end of the month or like in the low code zone where you're like, man, we can't really push on the production. I guess we better work on those tests. That's what we all do. And it's like, and then nobody wants to work on those tests. And I don't know. I haven't been in an organization yet that has amazing hygiene. If somebody out there is watching and has, call me, tell me. Like everywhere I go, it's always hard, especially when you're a big company with a lot of code. Um, so I think that's one area we like. Can we just fix it and really just continuing to do that work we don't want to do on debt and automation. It's always like the last thing to be done. We just deal with it. It's like we're doing all this really amazing cool stuff, but it's like, man, sometimes it's still hard to get out of the CI/CD hell. And that's something that has been worked on now, what, 20 years or more, like in this new world of it all. Is one area. And when you come down to refactoring and as we move faster and we do allow agents to become more autonomous in our code bases, we're going to unleash them. We're already unleashing them. Like, how big is your Git commits getting? Like, how much are we
Big.
having that? Like, they're getting big. Like, didn't GitHub just say like we're getting rid of much of the slop? I'm like, yeah. So don't tell me people are testing that stuff because they ain't. They're just like, commit. Because when you're vibe coding, it's so easy to commit. Oh, so
And
easy.
rewarding. It's good.
It's
Push
so
to main and just
oh,
ship it.
doesn't it feel good? You're just like, boom, done. Oh man. And then you're like, I should probably go back and look at that. So I'm just saying, like, people, this you're still needed. We still need you to do this. We're not there yet. So like let's fix testing. Let's fix that code debt. Let's not just, I don't know, let's not just, I'll commit crap. Or you're gonna have to pay. Nobody wants to pay.
I like that because we always thought robots would be used to kind of take care of all the tasks that we don't want to do, right? Clean our dishes and take out the trash and all these things. And that would be the equivalent of in software, right? Is to help us maintain and help
That's
us
right.
keep everything clean and good hygiene in code and tests are not technical debt. So that would be sweet actually. That maybe is a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Um cool. So another thing that I want to ask you is so from previous conversations, obviously, I've seen that AI fluency is a skill that is developed, interacting with these agents and getting the most out of them and doing so in a way, as you say, that doesn't consume all the tokens in the world so that you don't need the higher version of cloud code.
Mhm.
Um, it does take deliberate practice. And it's not easy for folks, right? Especially when, they are responsible for maintaining huge legacy monoliths with tons of customers. So where do people have time to do that, to practice deliberately with AI, to maybe in environments where AI is not even allowed in some cases, right? So how do folks adapt?
I think we have to adapt like we've always had to adapt when learning new things, right? There was a time in my life where I had to learn Rust. I still am learning Rust for the record, okay? Like we all are, but thank goodness for agents, right? Um, you it's important to you. You have this vision of your professional goals, your personal goals. You have to take some of that burden of education and curiosity on yourself. That's never going to change. And it's a bummer, like, to say you don't have no time. I'm like, give me a break. Everybody got 20 minutes. Don't tell me you ain't got 20 minutes. 20 minutes. You got time. Telling you, you probably spent 20 minutes right now listening to this nonsense when you should have been coding. No, in all seriousness, put it into bite-sizable chunks if you're feeling overwhelmed about it, but you have to have the drive behind it and the curiosity, and you have to align it to why you're doing this. Is it for your job? Is it a requirement? That's one motivator. Maybe you have a mortgage to pay. Maybe you want to be promoted. You've got to stay curious. You cannot be in technology and not accept that we're technophiles. We're here to make it change. Like, that is your job, is to advance humans through the lens of technology. Like, you better be embracing it. But I think there's opportunities within your job. Like, if you're in a highly compliant environment that maybe hasn't introduced AI, oh, they will. It's only time. Trust me. Like, there's not going to be anything that's not touched. Um, but where it will be touched will be interesting. And yeah, there may be some influencing to go and get ready for that at work. But this is, again, you're going to have to take it upon yourself. And there's a lot of courses. There's a lot of there's a lot of content out there to scratch that itch to get you going. You can also just like try it out in your IDE local, and start, very lightly playing with it. But at work, it's finding those opportunities. If you're not in a highly compliant environment that is allowing some of this, man, I just ranted about testing. Come on now. Like, go and do something that isn't touching production. You can utilize AI, and it's the same type of prompting pattern because you're just doing critical thinking, problem solving of the thing you were about to do. Ain't no dang different. Maybe you're not like writing the next feature, but you're fixing a flaky test. That's a great place to start experimenting. Another one, that I was hemming and hawing about. Maybe you have a monolithic backend application that's 2 versions behind, because whoever would have one of those? Not me. I mean, my shit's always up to date. Trust me. Trust me. No, but like sometimes upgrades are damn hard. Sometimes it's tedious. You're just like, oh my gosh, why?
Scary even, yeah.
Right. And they're scary. You're like, why in this version did they change this one thing I called like 300 damn times, and now I have to go and find it? Shoot, this is a perfect use case for AI. Perfect. So I would actually spend some time going and using an agent to go and make that change for you. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to be better, especially if it's a repeatable pattern. That is a great use case. Something that, again, that is repeatable, safe, that you could do controlled, and that you've seen too over and over. And this is not something new that is being applied. And again, you're not changing your IP. You're updating the system, which is scary in its own self. But usually when you're changing the system, it's on your own time frame. It's on your own scale. You have the opportunity to kind of chart out and navigate, so you can
You have
do it in a
control,
safer,
yeah.
you have control, you can do it in a safer way. So like those are the things I would advocate for. But also you got to put it on yourself, man. It's like, you're going to be wearing a lot of hats. People are going to be asking more for you. I implore you, go do it. You may, it's tough. You may ethically oppose, AI. Like I have friends that are in this industry that are like, oh man, it's a bummer being an AI overlord. And it's like, I don't think we're overlord status, but yeah, it's a bummer, but it's also amazing. And again, like, this is our craft. Like, what can we do to participate, make it safer, make it more transparent, and continue to play our part as good citizens when we build, because it's here.
Love that take. Um, okay, let's talk about future, and also a quick reminder that we have a Q&A going. So happy to ask any questions that you want to Dana here. Let us know. Question here: as we think about developer platforms, you got other players like Vercel going deep on frameworks and Cloudflare going deep on infrastructure, and Netlify pushing composability and agent experience. What do you think happens in 5 years? Do these all converge? Are we headed for permanent fragmentation? What's your bet?
5 years? Oh my gosh. Like that is like, light. That's
5
like
years is very
light years
aggressive. Yeah,
away. That's AI years away. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah, yeah.
I can't
You're
even
right.
imagine. But let's think about this. Okay. Let me think about my crystal ball.
It's a hard question.
Um,
Apologies.
oh no, I love it. A hard one. Hmm. Okay, I got to filter out all the noise that's happening, because will the planet be here in 5 years? Question mark. Oh, that's sad times. But let's assume all of that still happens, and stuff is going on like it is. Um, I think that we're going to still have these rough edges that we're still going to be figuring out. I think that there's going to be, really optimization and scalability and efforts for climate control will be a big forefront. And so I think in 5 years, we may not be caring so much about the framework. We may not be caring about the back end, but we're going to care about the computer still. And I think that there's different layers and aspects of all these things that we're building where there's expertise on how we can optimize, do things sustainably, scalably in these different pockets of technology. So when we say we don't care, like, you as a developer may not, but there's still going to be these deep thinkers that I think are going to try and see how we push the limitations of just the internet as a whole, for these digital experiences. And so I think in 5 years, the problems that we're going to be solving for, will definitely fall into that realm, because it's like, how are we going to power all of this? without killing the planet, because we're assuming they're going to be here. How are we going to continue to do it ethically and again sustainably? And I think that comes down again to performance and scale. And so a lot of things that we do under the hood are for those experiences, and maybe those experiences will become through in different ways. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Oculus will have a third wave. Hello, I don't know. I never
Maybe.
got into I never got into it, but people could go like, "Hey, holographs, 3Ds, it's back, baby," which is a different receptacle of how to have a digital experience. So I think there's always going to be this opportunity for any company, for any segment of how we're building. But I think underlying in 5 years, we're going to be faced with how do we do it at scale? How do we still retain privacy and governance? And how do we do it performantly on the internet? Like, MCP, cute protocol, but it's not really a protocol to make information traverse time and space. It's not, okay? But, maybe we're going to figure out something else that's really cool and new. So, I don't know, man. I can't predict it, but I think that a lot of us won't care about some of this stuff and we shouldn't, and it will just be an unlock, and really we're going to be hopefully lowering the gate of creating experiences for other humans like we continue to, because you never know like where somebody on this planet is coming up with an amazing brilliant idea that can change all of our lives. And us being builders have this capability with these advancements to help unlock those ideas. Like that excites me, like somebody that thought they never could go build an application or a website, now they can. It's like, heck yeah, go do
Very
it, go
powerful
change.
thing.
It is so powerful. And then yeah, it scares a lot of us because our identity has been, we're the person that gets to like write the code, we spent the time studying. Like now you have these people that don't understand anything in our space, and it's like, no, be good stewards, because your space was always to help build. Like, I don't know, doing Legos with somebody else, in my opinion, is always funner than doing Legos alone, which I also love. But getting to share that experience with somebody else is so powerful. And I don't know, it's going to be fun. It's going to be scary. It's going to be interesting. And I do hope we continue to worry about the foundational things like sustainability, ethics, privacy, control, and speed and optimization. Because like it's so easy to rage quit out, and I don't got time to waste it on a bad experience, and neither do you.
Brilliant. Well, let's open up for Q&A, and let's see some of these questions that we have here from folks. Let's start with a question from Claudia. It's true that it's hard to focus on the innovations that are worthwhile. Who are some of the smart people that you listen to?
Oh man, I listen to all the smart people because they're usually everybody that I'm around, and I get the privilege of being around them. Um, Lenny's podcast's really great. I like to go and really just look at the latest in the right spheres, like what's coming out of Anthropic. We're all using Claude. I try to parallelize what I'm doing to filter out some of the noise, because it is overwhelming and I could follow every trend. So there's not one authority, because I don't think there's an authority. But I try to gravitate towards the interesting podcast, the interesting content that intersects with what I'm doing right now. And I'm primarily focused on building an amazing web development platform for agents, people, and whomever be able to get those ideas out into the internet. And so I'm really focused now on like the changes that are happening in the framework space. So I really make those rounds. Specifically speaking, um, I don't know. I just talk to a lot of my coworkers too. I listen to them. I get their ideas. I find out what they're doing and what they're listening to. Different peers, but there isn't one news source for me. Surprising or not surprising. It's more about like just filtering down like the problem that I'm trying to solve, and then going to some of those sources that I have in the past that we continue. You never know if like something flies by your desk and it's like, oh my gosh, like that was an interesting article that so and so wrote. I'm like, cool, I'll read that. But yeah, not one place. I don't know. You gotta focus the problem, or you're gonna just be stuck in the noise. So there's not one good place to listen.
Good quote. Um, Another question from Subra. Hi, Dana. I liked your humor. I love using Netlify to host my sites and really like to use Netlify form features that handles and executes data really well. What do you feel Netlify can do better by implementing AI?
I think that there's still a lot of opportunity for us. Forms really unlocked people to not have to worry about creating a whole database just to get some form information. And it's like, man, shouldn't stuff just be as easy as forms? I say yes. There's a lot of other hard stuff that you have to do when building a website still. It's like, man, email. Why is email still hard? It still is hard,
Mhm.
y'all. It's a bummer. Like, well, I don't know, one day it's going to be easier. One day it will be easier. But I think for Netlify, continuing to find the areas where people get stuck, like DNS, like DNS, freaking hard. I think we have opportunity there. Um, just domains in general, a lot of people that haven't gotten the ability in the past to go and build websites are building websites, and then they're like, okay, cool. How do I get that cool address, that URL up there, be my URL? Oh man, so well, you need a certificate and you have to go buy a name and then you have to go put a DNS record. Oh my goodness gracious, that already feels like a lot. Um, Maybe not for some of us, but it is for others. So I think there's opportunities to think about, you know, how we automate that flow better, how we continue to automate all the different pieces that are outside of just the website, so that people can have the experiences that they want to provide. And so Netlify, we're gonna be listening and learning from all y'all. Like, what are you building? How are you building? What can we make easier? Like we did with forms, we just introduced drop for agent runners, and so that's so you can take a website. It doesn't need to be in Git. You can drop it. We'll do the build, and then you can just prompt right there back and forth on any changes you want on a branch preview. And so you're off, like you're on the internet and now you're just like pull request. It's not even a pull request, it's just a live preview. And if you want to do a pull request, you can do that too. But I think that's a pretty cool thing that we've automated, is that feedback loop for making changes with AI. And we're going to continue to just look for all those opportunities.
Very cool. Claudia asks, you mentioned large AI generated commits going unreviewed. Is this tooling gap, or do teams need to fundamentally change how we approach code review?
I think it's a tooling gap. First of all, you should not let any commits go unreviewed. Naughty, naughty, naughty. And if you're SOC compliant, you need dose reviews. Okay, you don't need one, you need two. So hopefully you're not doing that. So one, it is a tool. It's a tool gap. But I also think it's a tool gap too, even if you do have it in place and it squeaks through. Um, this is an opportunity to, again, to good hygiene. Should you even AI generated code should not be 500, 1,000 lines. You want him, again, think about it in this human readable way. You want to bite size it up. You also, the context windows can time out. So I implore you to continue to utilize those best practices when you go and submit changes that are generated from AI. And you can put that context in there. Like, don't create pull requests, break it up. Where in the past, maybe you didn't have to think about that, but you naturally thought of that because you probably had some engineering leaders smacking you around saying, like, what are you doing? That's insanity. We've all been new developers that have pushed too much code. Maybe not anymore, but then you learn really quickly not to do that. So it's in two parts. First of all, make sure you have good practices and you always have a review, because believe me, the larger the code base too, I would implore you to go and use an agent instead of a human. It's funny when you do see one of those really big, obnoxious PRs and you're the reviewer. Maybe it's not you because you would never do this. And you're like, looks good to me. 10 minutes later, I'm like, you didn't review that code. There's no effing way you reviewed that code. An agent at least will give it a once over a little bit better. Um, but none
Good
of us
summary.
developers,
Yeah, yeah.
we would never do that. We've all done that. Like, don't be that person. At least fake it a little bit. If you have a big code review, like, don't immediately merge it.
Um, yeah, we had a guest in the past that wrote a book about kind of the governing AI, and one of the things that he described was automation bias, and that is, well, if this is written by AI, it's probably well, so I'll just accept it, or I'll just use AI to accept it. So code is being produced and reviewed and accepted by AI. So
Yeah.
fun times. I think this is
I,
happening
I,
worldwide, right?
gonna tell you, like, isn't that the new unlock? We're like, I'm so efficient. It's like, I wrote this code and then I wrote this agent to check my code. It's like, no, that's where I'm like, why don't, even if you use a code, use another agent to check that agent and then maybe another agent to check that agent, but you should be writing what the agent's checking. But there is some bias because it's like sometimes people are like, checkbox. It's like, I checked it. It's like,
No. Last question that we have here is one of our guests gave us their language tier list. So programming language tier list. What's your S tier versus F tier programming language? This is good and spicy. I'm excited to hear. What do you think is in this new world of AI coding? What is your S tier programming language and F tier?
S being you got to have it. What's my best tier?
S being is like the top programming language.
English. English. Hot take. English. Congratulations.
English is consistent.
You knew I was going to say that. I'm sorry. Like we have
English
to say
is
that.
good.
Like, like I am, it's definitely never going to be jobs. No, I'm joking. TypeScript, JavaScript. I'm such a hater. I'm not. It's hard. I'm glad you guys love it. No, English. Sorry, it's true. And like F tier, everything else. Bummer,
Everything
but
else.
true. Bummer, but true. And I love me some Go. I love me some Rust. I love all languages. C, C++. I'm about to be like Bubba
Even
Gump going
Java?
through all. I love Java. I was talking, man, Jacob Eiler, Tomcat for life. Yeah, no. .NET. I love them all. Who am I to be a language snob? Cold Fusion, where are you at? No, we could do this all day. It doesn't matter. It matters how what's again, natural language. Here.
Brilliant. Well, that's it for our show. We don't have any more questions here. So it was a wonderful conversation, Dana. Thank you so much for sharing your opinions, your thoughts, and your experience with us. And I hope folks had as much fun as I had.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I hope they did as well.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Dana, again for being here. We spoke with Dana, CTO of Netlify. A fascinating conversation we just had. I hope you had as much fun as I had. As always, we at Codacy, we do end-to-end security and quality analysis, so check us out as well. Have a great rest of your week, and thanks for being here.